We're in the 1800s. I forgot the car's name, but there was a car that was shaped like a missile, like a bomb, and its top speed was 100 kilometers per hour. That is not much for today's cars, but it was huge for the cars for the 1800s. In the 1910s, there were a lot of Ford Model Ts, but one of the car was completely like a hot rod. So, in the 1910s, there was a car without a roof and without the fenders. These old fenders there were on the cars, like the stuff you see like this. So there were no fenders on this car, and it was totally stripped down. It was like a hot rod, and its top speed was 80 miles per hour, and that was a lot for the cars for the 1910s. But after that, in the 1930s, Rolls-Royce made a car that had a top speed of 300 miles per hour, and yeah, it is faster than most of the hypercars these days, like McLarens and Lamborghinis. Rolls-Royce invented a car with a jet plane engine in the 1930s that set it up a land speed record in the 1930s, and it had the speed of 120 miles per hour only in first gear. So that was a lot, but that car wasn't in production. It was not a production model car. So in the 1950s, we had this Mercedes 300 SL with a V8 engine, and its top speed was 140 miles per hour. And this thing was really, futuristic for that time, because this thing was having a cutting-edge technology, a huge hood, gullwing doors, and welded on eyebrows on the fenders of the wheels. And this car was really futuristic, the Mercedes 300 SL. This was a production model from the Mercedes-Benz actual company, and it set it a lot of speed records and also track lap records of that time. And really, there were a lot of cars in the 1950s that were really legendary. For example, the Hudson Hornet, and I think it was a Shelby. But the other car I'm going to show you that was really fast in the 1960s was a Shelby Cobra. We are in the 1960s, and we have this amazing car made by Carroll Shelby, the Shelby Cobra. Now, Carroll Shelby was having a birth problem. When he was young, he had a heart problem, and then when he grew up, the doctor said that you're okay now. And when he got rid of his heart problem, he went into the car scene and made his own car, the Shelby Cobra. And he also won a lot of races in his car. He was the best racer of the 1960s. And we had this completely unique design of a car. So this car is having a body that is called a Coke bottle body. That means that if you take a bottle of Coke and you tip it onto its side and put wheels on it, boom, you have a car body like that. And this thing had that kind of body, a streamlined shape, and a big grille on the front to take all of the cooling it needs. So this was a car of the 1960s that was really popular for its speed, the Shelby Cobra. It's the 1970s, and we have this amazing car from Plymouth, the Plymouth Superbird, and this car has its own story. And the driver of this car was Richard Petty, that had a crash in this car, that this car tipped over, but he somehow survived. And this car is portrated, and this car is actually connected with the guy Richard Petty. This is a very legendary car of the 1970s. Bad luck with him. At Darlington Raceway, this car crashed with Richard Petty inside him, but he survived. Now, This Plymouth Superbird is so known and it is so famous that it was also featured in the Cars movie. And if you know this character in Cars movie, he is King Dinoco. And I used to watch the Car movie and Cars movie. It was very nice when I was younger, but I'm older now. So this was a really good competitor for the other race cars in the 1970s. And at this point, many cars actually copied the design of this car with its aerodynamic structure, a really pointy nose, and a big wing. Now, the fact this wing was really long because at that time NASCAR had the racing with the stock cars. Stock car racing was a thing back in the day. Like, imagine a race car is launched and you can buy it yourself. You can buy a race car, a recent race car, and a lot of models. I think thousands of units of this car was made in the 1970s, and the reason why the wing was so tall, so the trunk can open, because the stock car racing was a thing back in the day. This is the 1980s, and Lamborghini pulled off with this car. Now, this is one of the best wedge-shaped cars ever. The 200 miles per hour mark was broken and Lamborghini pulled off with it. Now, this is a Lamborghini Countach from the 1980s, and this car looks so futuristic. Then I think it is the next competitor for the DeLorean. Like, this thing is completely made out of trapezoids. The hood, the trunk, the whole body is made out of trapezoids, and itself it's a wedge-shaped car. Now, I love Lamborghini Countach, and yeah, these do not exist now, but Lamborghini pulled off with the Countach, and yeah, this was the fastest car known for the 1980s.